So we're recording. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, Corel, you can start. Hello.
Sorry. We group two, and today we're going to present to you the externalities of the oil industry in the United States. And we're going to start with stating our main focus, which is, does the oil industry in the United States present more positive or negative externalities? We're going to try to answer that question through our presentation. But first and foremost, we need to assess and understand what is exactly the oil industry. So the oil industry is also known as the crude oil industry, represent the population, transport, and marketing of petroleum products. And in general, fossil fuels make more than 75% of the world's energy consumption. And contrary to people's beliefs, oil is still a widely reliable source of energy for humanity. Furthermore, oil represents more than 32% of the global energy consumption, far ahead of renewable energy such as wind, solar energy, and others. Deemed as one of the most economically mature commodities, crude oil is produced in certain countries, but not by so many companies. The product is also mainly exported by sea, with more than 80% of the oil delivery done through super tank boats. The main key players of the industry are countries who supply the rest of the world in oil. As such, they have a tremendous power of the trading price of the commodity. To avoid price volatility, top oil producing countries gather themselves in a single group in order to settle a fixed price per barrel and stabilize the oil market. They unite themselves under a large oil cartel named OPEC, which includes countries of the likes of Iran, Iraq, or even Venezuela. However, the power previously held by the cartel seems to be over, as more and more countries start emerging with more weight within the industry.
Due to political and economic shifts that was driven by a boom or an increase in the United States oil industry, the Energy Policy and Conservation Act that was implemented in 1975 was lifted in 2015 by the Obama administration. This ban was lifted on the US oil industry and resulted in a huge impact on the economy as well as the population. And it even stretched to all 50 states, including the District of Columbia or DC. 10.3 million was about the total amount of jobs that were directly or indirectly credited to the US oil industry. And it ranged from as low as 11,800 in the District of Columbia to nearly 2 million in Texas in the year of 2015. This also resulted to an increase in wages, as also contributed more than $1.3 trillion in the US economy. The United States is now the world's leading producer of oil as well as gas. And in the beginning of this year, the oil industry was responsible for 12.3 million American jobs. The oil industry, which includes oil, natural gas, coal, provides 80% of energy to the American population. And the energy costs have lowered, which benefits a lot of Americans. Before anything else, the production of oil and gas helps American consumers save an estimate of $203 billion annually, or $2,500 for a family of four. In communities throughout the country, hundreds of billions of dollars are being provided for the reason that, that oil and gas is affordable and accessible to the American population, and is being put into new American manufacturing projects supporting developments of new jobs, infrastructures, as well as providing economic opportunities. Not only does the benefits reach public sectors, the oil industry also benefits the private sectors. For instance, by bringing manufacturing jobs that was done in other countries back into the United States.
Okay, now moving on to the negative externalities. Damage to the environment are non-monetary damages that have major impacts on the wildlife. It disrupts communication and the breeding process because it's actually loud. The destruction sites, pipeline, roads, etc., deteriorate the landscape significantly. Oil extraction procedure causes spills that are injected underground. Now, at a smaller scale, it's not really dangerous, but it can be at a larger scale, as it was in the explosion of Deepwater Horizon in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. Air pollution is another negative externality. According to the United Nations, it's one of the biggest killers. Air pollution has an impact on both environment and living organisms. In the environment, oil extraction produces greenhouse gases that capture ozone, causing Earth's temperature to rise. On living organisms, combustion causes smog that cause health conditions such as chest pain, congestion, etc. And a bigger amount of smoke would cause irreversible damages to lungs. Spills from extraction process can infiltrate underground, causing water to be more acidic and damage coral reefs. That would put about 25% of all the marine creatures at risk, and maybe further causing a decrease in seafood supply.
The cost of a gallon of a petrol falls from the cost of the crude oil. There have been many price fluctuation in oil prices, taxes, and refined prices. Currently, the cost of a crude oil production is like $6 per barrel, and crude oil ranges from between like 50 to $60 a barrel. The oil demand is dictated by the performance and the cost of usage of gas and oil-fired machinery. This tells us where the balance of the supply and the demand, as well as the rise of decline resulting in no new prices. Eventually, the the nature of the petroleum industry affects the price change by customers. There was a surge of mergers with the gasoline industry, which resulted in the rise of a, which resulted in the rise of one of the between 1 and 7 cents per person called. About 85% of the mergers are happening in this industry today. It also depends on like the refining cost, the crude oil cost, the distribution and marketing, and then coming up to taxes. Next slide.
Yeah, so now we'll address the other factors that the oil market sector does not consider when pricing gasoline in United States. So mainly market failure in environmental economic occurs because not all costs are considered while the good is being produced and consumed, and the price is not included in the supply price level. And the two main environmental and health impact are greenhouse emission and impact beyond global warming. So without addressing the long-term effect on this action, countries and industries have been taking advantage on the landscape and natural resources in their own territories and other territories. So those factors has to be involved in pricing, as well as other costs and long-term well-being of the economy, because a very few long-term economic consideration are included in US pricing of gasoline. It's appropriate to consider long-term effects on oil shortage rather than considering primarily on short-term and economic growth. Also, higher oil prices encourage the development of sustainable energy sources and provide monetary incentives for transition into acceptance for non-renewable energy.
So looking at the oil industry in the United States and its impact on their country, we have to evaluate the current position. The United States is the largest producer of crude oil in the past few years, and they take up about 15% of global production. This production serves as a vital part of the US economy and can directly alter the manufacturing and production costs for companies. Additionally, their expansion across different states has provided more opportunities for individuals that have not as good of education. Take North Dakota, for example. They have about 2.649 million barrels of reserves of oil, making them one of the highest oil producers in the United States. Additionally, they have the 8th lowest unemployment rate in the United States, according to Statista.com, sitting at 3.1%. According to the National Geographic article, America Strikes Oil, the promise of and risk of fracking, they address the issue that oil companies are setting up shop right behind your house. This is due to the reason that when you purchase a property, you don't have mineral rights. Therefore, you don't have a say in where these oil companies can put their wells and fracking lines. Looking more in a magnified setting, we have to evaluate whether this industry presents more economically sound solutions or if this industry presents too many risks for their population.
Yeah, so now to correct the market failure of gasoline in pricing gasoline in the United States, we recommend that imposing taxes would be a better way and accurate way to price gasoline. So we did a research about a tax called Paguyyan tax. It's a tax to correct negative externalities in markets. And yeah, so we identified all these externalities that Ulrich and Gift presented. Imposing this tax would shift the marginal benefit, shift the private marginal cost to marginal social cost, where marginal benefit is equal to marginal social cost. Yeah. So imposing higher tax would not bring the price of oil in US to equal to the prices in other countries, but this would bring huge amount of revenue to federal government where they can support in renewable energy projects or reduce tax elsewhere or even pay down the raising deficits. There are other taxes that are green, like the green taxes that countries like Norway and Sweden have introduced. Research showed that they they impact on the GDP and stimulate development.
Thank you for listening. These are our citations and references.
Any questions